I'm Ariana Jones, and I'm with Waste Loop, and today I'm here with Nicole Haskey to talk about native bees. Nicole, could you tell us a little bit about how you first learned about native bees and what inspired you to get into it?
Yeah, I actually, before I moved here about 6 years ago, and had been coming here. This is childhood family cabin. Grew up coming here, and about 6 years ago decided to move, and I was here kind of getting things ready for the move. I moved in winter, but this in late summer and fall, and I was sitting out on the deck, and I had a couple of bamboo poles for gardening that had holes drilled in them for doing whatever you do with bamboo poles. And while I was sitting on the deck, I started noticing these green iridescent bees flying in and out of the holes that were drilled in those. And I was just fascinated, and I was like, what are they? And I just kept watching them, and then the next day, when I came out and I looked at it, the holes were all covered up, like filled in with dirt or mud or something, and so I started investigating, like, what is that? Who knows what this is? And I found out they're mason bees. And they're wild native bees, local, all over, and they're really good pollinators, and so I was like hooked. I'd already been interested in honeybees for a long time, and so I just wanted to learn more.
Awesome. And so you hear the term native bees. Does that include mason bees and leaf cutters, or what does native bees include?
Yeah, so native bees, I think there's like 120 some varieties of known native bees, and then there's a whole bunch of others that haven't even truly been identified yet. Honeybees are actually an introduced species. I think that they came from Egypt, if I remember correctly. And leaf cutter bees and mason bees are naturally in this environment where we live. They're already here, they're already doing their thing, and they'll nest in trees or stumps or different things like that. But if you put housing out for them, then you can provide for them, and they'll help provide back for you.
Awesome. So what does that look like after you found out that you already had mason bees here? What were your next steps?
So the next step, what I did was I got online, did a little bit of research, and found out there's a great business called Crown Bees that's over on the west side of Washington State, and they have products and things for creating the homes for the bees. And so I was like, I want to make this happen. So I ordered up this tube is a kind of a standard house. So I ordered that. It came with the tubes, and then they also sell bees that you can actually order and get them delivered to you through the mail. And so I was going to do that, but I was like, I like to research things first a little bit, know what I'm getting into. And so I got the house, and I got the tubes, and I was going to then order bees when I knew I could have them delivered on a day when I was going to be home. In the meantime, I had set everything up, and wild bees just started nesting in the tubes anyway.
Wow. So you never had to order any bees?
I never had to order any mason bees, no.
Wow. So there's obviously kind of a rhythm to the madness, but what is in the inside here? Can you tell me more about? Looks like there's a couple of different things going on.
Yeah, so there's a variety of things. So the common thread among all of them is the little tubes. So mason bees and leaf cutter bees are hole nesting bees. So in the wild, they would, if I didn't put these out for them, they might in holes that had been pecked by a woodpecker, or if you have a little hole in your house or something, they'll just go in there and they'll lay their eggs in there. They won't do any damage to the structure. They don't actually make the holes. They just use them, take advantage of them. So there's a variety of different kinds of tubes that you can use. There's cardboard ones. These ones are bamboo. There's this block here in the middle actually doesn't have tubes. It's just the whole block. Each layer can be taken apart to access the bees inside there. Or they can just crawl out themselves if you don't harvest the cocoons and release them on your own. And like I said, I started with this one, and as it started filling up, it was like, oh gosh, I got to get some more. And then, so I think I moved to this one because I had that random non-recyclable plastic left. And so I thought, okay, I'll make a bee house with it. And I found this one, and then I learned, you know, everything's learning. So the process of learning, I learned along the way that if you want to harvest the cocoons to release them, the bamboo reeds are a lot harder to break open. But I had it, so I just put it up. And then this one I started, I had, everything was filling up and I wanted to keep providing for the bees. And so I put some tubes in there, and then I got this little square wooden block version, and then I started building around it. And this one has the hardware cloth over it because before I had the block in there, I had it kind of half filled with the tubes, and a bird thought it was a great protected area to build a nest. So it started building a nest in there, but it was kicking the tubes out. And so that was the reason for getting that block. It was like, oh, fill that space up so that it's all bees.
Right. So many different types of homes.
Yeah.
So aside from providing their shelter in terms of their providing for the bees and their habitat, is there anything else that you do to, like you said, provide for the bees?
Yeah. I'm lucky enough where I live. So mason bees will use clay or mud, or a leaf cutter bee will use leaves, and they build a wall of mud or leaves, and then they lay an egg, put pollen in there with it, and then they build another wall, and they keep doing that until the tubes are filled up.
Wow, so there's lots of larvae in them.
So there's like 5 or 6 in any one of these tubes.
Wow.
Which is awesome, because then if you start small, you get exponentially bigger each year the amount of bees that you can have around. And then they also just want to have water close by. So I have a creek running through the property here, but you could have a bird bath, you could create a bee bath, or a bee watering hole for them. And that's it. Really.
Awesome. Pretty simple.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at kind of the different designs, like you said, some are easier to take out the larvae. So what does the kind of year-round look like in terms of being able to manage a system like this or to grow the system?
Absolutely. It's really low amount of work. Like you put them up and that's pretty much it. And the bees do all the hard work. You can, if, like I said, if you don't have them already, you can buy the tubes. You can buy a really cool, this is made by an artist in Winthrop, this little house, and it comes with the tubes in it. And so it's made out of salvaged things, which is really cool. Once your tubes are full, so mason bees come out first in the spring. They fly at 55 degrees, so when it's consistently 55 degrees during the daytime, they fly then. And they are here where I'm at. They're typically around for about a month and a half, just doing their thing. And then they're done and their tubes are all filled, and then I won't see them again until next year. But then the leaf cutters come in and they fly at, when it's consistently 75 degrees. And they keep doing their thing, and they do work longer through the heat of summer until kind of around now in the fall. Then they'll start backing off, and you won't see as many of them. And then their tubes are done, and then we won't see them again until late spring, early summer. And then in the meantime, there's a number of things that you can do. One, you can just leave them up as they are. One thing that I've learned, as long as they have a little lip on the house to help protect them from the rain. You can just leave them there and they'll just reuse everything. Or you can harvest the cocoons out of the tubes, and then you actually put them in a special container in the fridge. And then you can release them when you're ready in the spring, where you want them, when you want them. So if the weather's off on a certain year, and you it's warm early or if it's warm late, you can really decide exactly where you want to put them. And then you would just pull the tubes out and put fresh tubes in for them to nest in. And then like this house has an attic in it that you can unscrew it and take it off, and then you would put the cocoons in the attic.
Oh, wow.
And put the little panel back on, and there's a hole for them to actually emerge out of, so they can naturally, it's the little cocoons you have, and so they actually will eat their way out of those and then come flying out there. And this has space behind all the tubes, so any of these, you just leave a little space behind and you can put the cocoons there, or you can even set it on top of, like on the block one, I could set the cocoons on top, and if they hatch there, then they're going to come back there. The pheromone is a big thing with bees, and so that's how they know where a good place to be is, and so they'll come back if they hatch in that spot.
Awesome. It seems pretty low maintenance and straightforward. How many years have you been doing this now?
I've been doing this for probably about 5 years now. Started, like I said, I think earlier with just a small one little hut, and then just started each year, grew exponentially. I've put some down in my orchard so that they're right close to my apple trees. For pollinating. One of my favorite parts about them is because they're, unlike honeybees, they don't have a queen, they don't have honey to protect, and so they're really, really gentle. So anybody can observe them really safely. It's extremely rare that they sting. So you can, I've gotten up and I like to get in close and take pictures of them, and you'll see them just sitting in their tubes, and I've had them fly right into my face before, and they're just like, oh, sorry, and then they keep going about their business. So it's none of that same worry that a lot of folks have around honeybees.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when we're looking at kind of simple things like this to incorporate anywhere that we live, for you, how does this connect in with your sustainable lifestyle that you're strive for in your own home?
Yeah. It's such a great connection, especially for me, having come to this place since I was very little. It's kind of where I grew, and I feel a real strong connection to the land that I'm on. And the longer I'm here and the more I start little projects like this, the more they grow and the more connection I feel. Just knowing that I'm providing something back to the land that's providing for me is really soul warming, I guess, heartwarming.
Yeah, that's so great. So if somebody were interested in even starting small, what would you recommend for them? Is there a community of folks in the Leavenworth area that do this, or where should they look?
Yeah, you can, beekeepers love to geek out about bees. I could talk about bees, all kinds of bees, for a long, long time. And so folks could definitely reach out to me. I work up at Tierra Learning Center, and I'm just started being the beekeeper up there this year. So we've just put in leafcutter homes this summer, and so that's a great place. And I think just reach out and start asking people, and the more you just talk about it or express your interest, there's people. The community is so wonderful here, so strong. There's a beekeeping club and Washington State Beekeepers, which is mostly focused on honeybees, but like I said, bee people like to talk about bees, so they'll know a lot about mason bees and leafcutter bees as well.
That's great. Sounds like there's a lot of resources.
Yeah.
And in terms of timing, we're in the fall right now, so when might you recommend somebody start to maybe gather the tools that they need and maybe even think about ordering bees?
Yeah, so this time of year, like the only tools you would, unless you're really far ahead planner, you don't need to get anything now. You could just set it up in the spring, kind of along with your garden. When you're getting your garden going, you could think, oh, pollinators for my plants. They'll help it grow. Or if you happen to see a mason bee they'll be one of the first bees around in the spring, and or bumblebees, they kind of emerge the same time. And that's a great time to just be like, okay, I'm gonna get one of those and put them up and see what happens.
Awesome. So the springtime.
Yeah.
So you were saying that you have a lot of projects happening here. Obviously, any landowner knows how that goes. But it seems like native bees and mason bees can kind of be a gateway into just caretaking the land in other ways. What are some other things that this project has inspired you to dive into?
Yeah. Well, one of my goals for living here is to live in connection with the land, and then also if there are things that I can do to provide for myself and my animals and my community in connection with my land, then that's even better. So if there is a connection with the fruit trees or things like that. I started out with a dog and mason bees, and then I've grown over the years to I have honeybees now. For the first time, they're a little more work intensive, but still wonderful. I've expanded my garden. You may hear chickens in the background. I've got chickens now. And the whole idea is that eventually everyone serves a purpose and has something to give. And then it all works in connection with each other. So the chickens will help the garden, help build the soil. As I said, it's clay soil here. So one of my goals with the chickens is to build up more of the topsoil so that it's better for the garden. And the garden will provide flowers for the bees, and then the bees will help keep everything going. And then ultimately, my goal personally is if I can grow food and share it with friends and people, or we can trade. If I have one thing that grows great on my property and you have one thing that grows great on your property, having that community sharing is just awesome.
I totally agree. Thanks so much for your time, Nicole, and for the inspiration, and look forward to doing bees in the future as well.
Yeah, thank you.